Hey everyone, my name is Penny Zenker, and it's time to reset. This podcast goes beyond just navigating change. It's about new ways of thinking about how you can approach challenges, how you can shift your mindset when needed, create some space and grace for yourself so that you can rethink, recharge, and reprioritize when and where needed. Are you ready to unlock your full potential? Thank you for hitting play and sharing this next episode with me. It's time to reset. Hello, and welcome to Take Back Time. My name is Penny Zenker, and I'm your host. And you know, I'm always looking for people who are going to give you the edge in your business and in your life so that you can work smarter and really rely on creating some leverage in your life and stop working so hard. And we do that through best practices, from talking to people who have learned maybe the hard way and maybe not, but that they've got some expertise that they can share with you so that you can shorten your learning curve. And today is no exception. I'm excited today to have an SEO expert with us, Joey Myers. He is going to share his expertise. He's actually played baseball for Fresno State for 4 years, but he's been in this baseball scene for quite some time. And he's got an Amazon bestseller, Catapult Loading System, which has an amazing blog that he's doing. And you can go to his website at hittingperformancelab.com, where he gives away over 8,000 copies of his best-selling book. And he has 34,000 email subscribers. And he's really working this marketing thing. And he's going to share some of the tips and tricks that he's learned with you today so that you can work smarter when it comes to promoting your website and your business, whether you're an entrepreneur or you work for an organization in marketing. You're going to get some great tips today. So Joey, without further ado, welcome.
Well, thanks for having me on, Penny. Yeah, I'm excited to talk to you. You got a lot of cool stuff that you're doing. So I think it'll be a good conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. And actually right now, SEO is on the tip of my tongue. If you can't see it, it's so important for me in my business right now. And I think for many businesses, right? Because it's organic traffic and how we can create a sustainable traffic flow to our website so we can generate more leads, right? That's what everybody wants. If you hear, I talk to entrepreneurs around the world, as I'm coaching around their businesses. And the number one thing they said is, we want more leads. We want more leads. So I believe SEO is really important to that.
Yeah, I agree. And I think I first started on the SEO thing probably around 2008. So I started a website that's like Hitting Performance Lab. It was swingsmarter.com. And the whole premise and it was through a software called sitesell.com. It's still around. So some people I know have websites out there on that, but it was all based around search engine optimization. So it's creating a lot of content and then on-page search engine optimization. I'm sure they go into more backlinking stuff now, but that was my first venture into the online world, was search engine optimization. And then what I found at the time, this is when Facebook and social media was just starting to come on the scene. I think Twitter was around that time, right? 2008 or whatever. I was starting to see other avenues of marketing. So I kind of put that SEO thing aside and started to focus on building funnels for Facebook and email funnels and things like that, and got into publishing a book and whatnot. And it's interesting, some of the things that have changed in SEO, although a lot of the principles are still the same. It's just that Google's gotten a little smarter there, or at least the people in the algorithm have gotten a little smarter about how they're able to look at what are the more credible sites on specific topics.
So tell us, I think one of the things, so you've got some experience in, you said funnels and in book writing and all of that, as part of creating content to bring to people to the website. What are some of the common mistakes that people make that they might not even know that they're making?
Yeah, I think one of the big ones is spending too much time in one zone. So if it is social media, I love social media and I do social media. Some businesses out there may not be able to hire a virtual assistant to do their social media for them. Maybe they just start and they don't really have a process yet. So I had a process that I had, I systematized it, and then I was able to delegate that to somebody to do it for me so that now I can focus on something else. Because the problem was, and I love your Focusology tag that you got there, because the problem is each of these things, these channels, and you probably know this, Penny, is deserves almost its own focus, like its own one person to focus on. So one person to focus on the SEO, one person to focus on the social media, one person to focus on the email marketing, one person to focus on product creation or writing a book. It takes so much time to do that kind of stuff. And so you have to pick and choose what big domino. There was that book one, I can't remember the author's name. They talk about the one thing. What's the one thing you could do today that can knock over all the other smaller dominoes instead of working each smaller domino one and one and splitting your time amongst 5 different things? What's that one domino that you can knock over and it'll knock over all the other small ones, right? And so that's right, what
the challenge, let me interrupt you for a second there, because I think many of the people who are listening can relate, is that their energy is spread so thin and they're not making headway in any particular area. I hear that from so many different people. And they've just, around back to that being a focusologist is understanding where you're going to get the biggest bang for your buck, for your energy, right? And for the time that you're putting into something, so as it relates to this, finish what you were saying, but I think people really could benefit from knowing if you're going in this direction as well, how do they know which one of these is going to be their domino or their primary focus is going to benefit them most?
Right. Yeah. So especially with things like social media, which can be very systematized, all it really takes is you doing it yourself for a month and finding out what posts are working better than other posts. And is it image posts work really well, which they do on Facebook? Do video posts work really well, which they do on Facebook and Instagram, as long as you have them in the right format and the right amount of time, on those, but they can be really effective. So once you find out what that mix is, then you create just a system of, okay, what am I posting at what times and things like that. And once you systematize it, now you can offload it. It could be somebody in the Philippines that you pay them $4 or $5 an hour to do that for you. And it doesn't take that long. It takes 45 minutes to post maybe 5, 6, 7 times a day. And when you pre-schedule those through like a Hootsuite.com, you can take 45 minutes to an hour and a half for that person to do that. You're not really paying them that much. And now that's off your table. They're doing that for you. And now you can go over, because social media is like a drumbeat. It's just, you want to make sure you're continually posting. You're always have some kind of content up there that's driving people to your site or to article that you like or endorse or whatever. So that's the thing is, whether it's social media or email marketing or whatever it is, it really only takes a month for you to figure out what that system looks like and to take somebody or hire somebody, or if you're going to do it yourself, to do that for you. So it's systematizing and then it's delegating. It's systematizing and then it's delegating. So our SEO stuff, I have a SEO tech that takes care of all the tech SEO stuff in the back end. I don't have to do that. I was doing that back in 2008 myself. I don't do that anymore. So now I'm able to if I sit on the sales calls or doing the scheduling and meeting up with people, and then I hand it over to my tech guy to take care of all the tech stuff in the back end. And then eventually I can have a salesperson take care of the sales side. It's all, you can systematize it. And that was one thing I think back in the early days, I didn't know how to do that. And I think
so
that's
many
big.
new tools today, right? That, Hootsuite's been around forever for the social side of things, but there's a ton of different tools out there that can even better support you than ever because of the integrations and the links that they provide.
Right.
So definitely systemization and automation when it comes to social. I like that phrase that you said, the drumbeat.
Yeah.
That you just, constantly posting to keep the beat going. So I really like that analogy. That's something that will stick with people. But let's come down and focus on the SEO side of things, right? So SEO being one of those many strategies that are out there, like you mentioned, the social, the email marketing, book releases and things like that. So let's understand, what are some mistakes that people are making specifically around SEO? So you talked about in general, not having enough focus. What are some of the things that they need to look out for? Google's always changing. What are some of those things that I need to look out for?
Right. So there's a number. And if you go on to Google and you look up search engine optimization and look at an article on them, they'll tell you 200 different things that you can do. But there's really maybe the top 5% or 10% of things that you do are the big things, the things that'll take care of 80 to 90% of working on getting you ranking right. So the two biggest things are mobile, making sure, hopefully that's everybody listening out there understands that everything's pretty much mobile. I mean, people go to desktop a lot of times to buy, but when they actually find you, it's on mobile. The other thing is that your site, and there was an algorithm change recently with Google a couple months ago that was big into the site speed. So if your site speed, if it takes more than 2 or 3 seconds to load, then you're going to get penalized quite a bit on Google for your rankings. So you got to make sure site speed and mobile are big. The other big one when it comes to actual search ranking, so being able to rank for certain keywords, I think mistakes that people make is trying to rank for the high search volume terms. So I'll give you a good example. If we're talking about, say, a plumbing business. So if I owned a plumbing business and I wanted to increase the amount of eyeballs to my website, say locally or whatnot, and I did a keyword search and I had plumbing, and maybe that gets 50,000 searches per month, or plumbing services, and maybe that gets 10,000 searches per month. Well, the problem is you have to think about your search terms in terms of the funnel. So what part of the funnel is this customer in or prospect in? Are they in the top of the funnel, which those 2 search terms, they're top of funnel. That's somebody who's not ready to buy yet. They're doing the research. So they're not there yet. Then you have your bottom of funnel search terms, middle funnel, bottom funnel. They're still researching, but maybe they're starting to get close to buying. But it's the bottom of funnel search terms that we really want to zero in on. And those are the ones that aren't very sexy when it comes to search volume. They might have 100 searches. Depending on where somebody lives, there might be only 10 searches a month or 25 searches a month for certain search terms like best plumbing company near me. That search term is more of a bottom of funnel search term where they are ready. They know they need a plumber. They know what's wrong, and they're just looking for the best plumbing company. And if you live in some weird, so like Fresno, so I live in Fresno, Central California, it's about 800 to 900,000 people or so. And if you put Clovis in there, which is right above us, just north of us, a city, another couple 100,000 people, we're talking a million. So we're not a big city compared to like a Miami or Chicago or New York or LA, right? So people searching, I have a friend who's an attorney. He's a workers' comp attorney. So taking a search term like workers' comp attorney, Fresno, California, it gets maybe 10 searches a month or 50 searches a month. Well, you look at that and you go, well, that doesn't look like a lot of people, but those people are ready to buy, number one. And number two, those search terms are a lot easier to rank for on the first page of Google. And we've really done a minimal amount of backlinking with him. We've just done citations, or basically directories, getting in directories. And we've got those search terms, those specific ones, we're ranking pretty close to, depends on the day or the week, how Google does, everything changes and stuff. But we could be 2 or 3 of those on the first page of Google in a week, or it might drop to the second page and then first page, second page. And we've done minimal linking, minimal.
Right. And I love what you're saying. And I'm all about that's the shortcut, is that a lot of people are going for those high search terms and they're thinking, oh, great, I'm going to get ranked for, plumber, as you said, or lawyer or something like that. And there's just a lot of junk. And so we don't want the junk. We don't have to weed out the junk. We want to go right to the sweet spot where people are actually ready to buy.
Right.
And just to monetize this for people. So what might a lawyer get from a case?
So for workers' comp, it's a little bit more, they have regulations. So
just
they have
high level, right?
Yeah. So you're talking 10 to 20% of a case of a big, say like $100,000. You're talking about
excess of $10,000, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So I want people to be thinking about what's their average sale, because if they get, you're at the top of the SEO at the first page of an organic search, and you have a value of whatever, 1,000, 2,000, 5,000, right? Monetize that. You're looking at what's a low search term might be like 10 searches a day, or is it a month?
Usually on a monthly basis.
On a month, right?
Yeah. So it could be 50, say 50 searches a month for a bottom funnel.
So let's say 50, right? So I want people to be thinking about monetizing this and how it's worthwhile to put in this effort. It's also an engine that just keeps creating for you, right? That's month after month that you're up there and you're getting those. So if I was that lawyer and I was getting in excess of 10,000 and I was getting maybe, let's say 4 gigs out of the 50 gigs that are there, that's pretty good, right? Every single month. That is a great lead generation tool. So I want people to be thinking about that, is going after, because I love what you're saying and I'm all about that. Go after the low hanging fruit, which are people who are looking to buy today, and monetize that and see what that could mean for your business.
Right. And give a perspective of that first page. So that first listing on that first page in organic. So not the ads. The ads are people pay for that, right? That's not organic search. They are organics, that first one. So that first one gets, I think I heard 85 to 90% of the traffic. So if you're talking about, I want to be that listing, and you can be that listing with a bunch of different things that we can do in search engine optimization. But if you're targeting those low hanging fruit, like Penny, you're talking about, it's easier to get to that first one there. So you're getting a bulk of those 50 people coming in, right? It's easier to versus going like my Hitting Performance Lab site. So, and there's nothing wrong with targeting top funnel keywords. And if you have a site that's very educational, so Hitting Performance Lab is very educational. I have 340 plus free blog posts that people go and it warms up the audience. I can bring somebody in from social media who's super cold. I can bring them in and I didn't know that. I didn't know that. And so I warm them up and I get them into my email list. We do email autoresponders, all that stuff. So I'll rank on the first page of Google for, say, something like hitting training or something like that, and may get 3,000 to 4,000 searches a month during the peak season. And those aren't bottom of funnel people. Those are top of funnel, but they just get a high search volume, which I'm okay with because I'm educating people and then I'm moving them down a funnel.
And then you can move them through the funnel.
But those local brick and mortars, or those people out there that have companies that they sell a widget or a service, then you're not going to want to spend a lot of your time and linking, like backlinking juice to those kind of pages. You're going to spend your time on the lower hanging fruit for sure.
So let's say they're on the board with that and they're looking for some of those low items. Something that I didn't realize, or I know just enough to be like dangerous, right? In my questioning here, but I thought that you could have multiple pages that rank for a particular keyword. But if I look at like a tool that is supporting me, like Yoast, that tells me on my blog page, it says I can only have one keyword that I'm targeting. So tell me more about that so that people understand how you take a blog and what are the key elements of targeting that blog to the keyword, and why I think you can't have multiple pages that are targeted towards the same keyword.
Yeah. So good question. And Yoast is kind of interesting. It's a great one. I use it for all my sites. Yoast, if you just get the free, you'll notice that. But then when you buy the premium, which is 75, it's really not that much a year, I think $75 or $80 or $100, whatever it is. But if you get the premium, then you can start to put synonyms in there, right? So it's kind of interesting if you got the free one, but with the premium you pay, then you can put some multiple. But here's the thing is, the principle is you don't want to put a bunch of keyword spamming. So you don't want to put a bunch of keywords that are maybe similar, maybe a synonym, but they're not really. So Google is, even though we say it's a secret formula and all this stuff, well, really it's artificial intelligence, but it's looking for certain words, right? And so it's trying to get an idea of what the website's about. So the homepage, what we started doing with homepages is we started to take a homepage. We call it the write and rank method. So we take a homepage that say the same plumbing company has a 500 word homepage, just a little bit about their service. They got a few images, whatnot. Well, what we're doing is we're doing complete keyword research, and we are taking some of the main big concepts that surround, like if you take plumbing, you're going to have all these different categories underneath plumbing that they cover, right? That they work on.
Right.
So we're going to take those keywords as well, and different synonyms, different ways to say it. And we're going to balloon that homepage up to about a 3,000 to 4,000 word homepage. And it'll also depend on their competition. So if their competition has a 3,000 page or word homepage, then we may need to go 4, or we need 3,500 or 5,000, right? But what we're going to do is we're going to sprinkle a lot of those different categories underneath plumbing all over that website in a way that's we're not spamming. It's just in a way we're writing that homepage that flows and that targets multiple keywords. So you can do that. And those keywords, especially if I were to take, say, SEO, right? So we got SEO agency, SEO consultancy, SEO expert, SEO. You have these different, they're the same, they're synonyms, and you can intermingle and mix those words around, and it's not going to throw Google off. You're not saying SEO roofer or something like that, where it's going to really confuse Google. So we can do that. In short answer, we can do multiple keywords, but when you do, the main ones are, you want to have it in your domain name. So the main keywords that you want them in your domain name. You want them in the title of your website, like the main website title. You want them in the description. You want them in the H tags, the header tags, H1, H2, H3, and you want them and the backlinking and things like that. And those are kind of the top things. Google looks at those right away. And if you've got all those in line, then they're going to rank you pretty high. Then the more link juice you start throwing to it, the better you are against your competition. But you can do that. They just have to be synonyms and, a lot of words, because Google just wants content. They just want good content.
So let's say you've got a website that's got a lot of content. It's been out there for a while, but you didn't really do anything in the past to get it ranked and everything. Can you go back in and look to set it up for keywords and set up the backlinks and the descriptions and so forth? And if so, is there like a way, like a number of pages that would be optimal that you don't need to go back through everything? Like, how would you advise someone who's going to go back through their website that hasn't done this in the past to get that in shape?
Yeah, it's a good question. That would be like if I were to take my Hitting Performance Lab and just do never SEO anything and just have the 340 plus blog posts and then saying, I want to SEO everything. That would give any kind of business owner a nightmare fever, waking up in a fever sweat. So probably the biggest thing that I would do, and you can hire somebody to do this for you to go through and really get some of those pages. Yoast does a good job of going through, and they'll give you, I love the red light, yellow light, and the green light. And they'll give you the posts that are the red light. So when I started Hitting Performance Lab, I had Yoast, I had the regular free one. And then later, and I did just some of the on-page stuff, but I still had, 50 blog posts that I hadn't done anything. They were read based on Yoast's, their evaluation. But my thing would be to really, the homepage is going to be the big thing. So going to the homepage, and if it needs to be rewritten, which might be the case, what we're finding in the research and the studies of like hundreds, if not thousands of websites, the write and rank method, ballooning up and having that, putting together that homepage in a way that captures a lot of the different keywords that you want to rank for is pretty powerful. And it's almost as powerful, if not more, than backlinking. So in a general time frame, it can take about 4 months to get ranked. And it depends on the site too. So you mentioned a site that's been around for a while, has a lot of content. That's a good thing because it's got seasoning. It's got domain seasoning. It's got content already out there. Just the content may not be put in a format that, like you said, is targeting certain keywords. So it's not that hard if you use Yoast, and I would recommend the premium version just because it unlocks, gives you a little bit more, especially somebody who, not like us, like we're more technical. We can go in and we can do some things in the back end. But for somebody who's like, I don't have time for that. I just want to see the evaluation of a page. Is it red light, yellow light, green light? And it'll tell you what you need to do differently, what you need to add and things like that. That's what I would recommend to make it the easiest possible. But just start with the homepage.
I love those suggestions, right? Because it really does make it easy for people. It tells you exactly what you need to fix. It tells you internally, these are the other ones, the other posts that you have that you could use to link internally within the website. Mm-hmm. It really does help you with a lot of that, like you said, with a minimal cost to at least get you started, or if you're hire somebody to work on it, that they can use that as a basis. So it is a good tool.
Right.
So what are any of the other tricks that you think are, something that people just aren't aware of that can make a huge difference for them in their ranking?
Yeah. So depending on the industry, now, one of the things with Hitting Performance, I'll use this as an example. One of the challenges with Hitting Performance Lab is it's such a small niche. So it's the baseball, softball hitting niche. So you got baseball, softball in general is a decent size. I mean, there's probably 17 or 18 million and 19 million worldwide little leaguers, right? So that gives you an idea of the biggest chunk of the market if we're looking at that market as a pyramid. But in comparison to the financial market or the health and fitness market, I mean, it's pales in comparison. It's so small, especially even in sporting market with all the different sports and stuff like that. So the issue I was running into is finding blogs and things that when we talk about guest posting. So guest posting on other blogs or other websites that have high rankings. If you go on Alexa.com, it's a good site to go onto. And if you go into their free tools, they have like, I think a website search, and you search it and it'll tell you what that website is ranked in Alexa. So Alexa's Amazon's thing that's been around for a while, and it'll tell you where you're ranked at overall in like the billion plus websites that are out there. And so one of the ways to get ranked higher, and it all relates, it's like the first cousin of Google, right? So if you rank high, chances are your traffic's going to be decent high and you're going to rank better for the certain key terms that you're targeting. So guest posting is a big one. And you can just go out in your industry, whatever it is, and you can just put your industry, put blogs or directories or whatever, and you can go out and search some of these different blogs, directories, in the blog case, you can contact them and say, hey, would you be interested in either featuring an article that you've already written and they can purpose it, or writing one for their audience and doing that kind of thing. And then just telling them to make sure that when they do link to you, that they use certain keywords that you're looking to rank high for. So guest posting is a big one, and just making sure that you're looking for sites that are below 1 million ranking, or if you're 3 million or 4 million, it needs to be lower than what you are. If you're under 1 million, if your site's ranked in the 500,000, well, now you need to seek out sites that are either below 100,000 or below 500,000 so that you're getting that link juice from those websites.
All right. So guest posting, that's something that people want to take a look at. Is there anything else that could give them a boost?
Yeah. So there's a couple other ones, and I'll go into one in particular because I mentioned the site speed, but you got citations is a way of linking back. I mentioned that. That's directories. You got guest posting, and then you got links, backlinks. And you have to be careful with backlinks because you can just type in backlinking service, and you don't want to just sign up for just anybody. You want to make sure you get quality links on that, because they can give you some bad links. And those bad links, Google knows they will cut your site ranking down on that one. But the big one is the making your website faster, which we call amping your site, AMP, which stands for Accelerated Mobile Pages. And what you can do is you can just go on Fiverr, find somebody, just type in AMP website or AMP SEO or something like that. And you can find somebody who does that with websites. So what they'll do is they can either convert your whole website, like the guy we use, he just codes from hand. I don't have him code the whole website because we have our own UI, UX, user interface, user experience design that we have. And we just have him, he does the mobile version of it. So he takes our current design and then he brings it into a mobile AMP design, and it's very minimal. They don't use, like, it's very bare minimal code. You see the wording, you see the images, there's some links in there, but a lot of the extra stuff gets X'd out, and it loads super fast. And Google loves that. And I think they even put a little lightning bolt next to your website when it, ranks you. It'll put that little lightning bolt there, meaning that, your site loads pretty quickly. But that is a big one. Like I said, the last couple of months, their algorithm has changed a little bit more to increase sites that have that AMP, or those websites that are loading less than 2 seconds, less than 2 or 3 seconds.
Fantastic. So, it's just a teaser for people, because I don't want to get too deep into it and too technical. A lot of people's heads are already spinning, right? With all of this that there is to do. But, for the people that are listening, right, you've heard a couple of good tips. You also got a couple of good tools in there. You just threw in Fiverr, which is one of my favorite. Used to be $5.
Not anymore.
A little bit more expensive now, but you can still get a lot of really great people, experts in different spaces that are around the world for a reasonable price to get videos made, to get websites put together, keyword specialists, whatever. So it's a great site.
Right.
So tell me, if you were interviewing yourself, what's the last question you would ask yourself?
Probably last question I would ask myself would be, what makes you different than any of these other people out there, the other SEO people, agencies, whatever? And I think the biggest, and how I'd answer that, is that we've learned this based on pounding the pavement. This is all stuff that I've used since 2008, that I've played with in the sandbox for a while until we decided to actually open up our own agency to cater to business people, certain businesses. We use it on our own sites, and we have multiple sites. We're not just an agency. We have our own business websites that we use. Obviously, we've talked about a couple on here,
right.
Hitting Performance Lab. We have a gold investing site. We have a crypto investing site that we're doing. We have e-commerce. So we do e-commerce. We have our own in pretty much any online business that you can think of. We've done the online publishing thing. So we understand that. We've created a bestseller in our specific niche, our baseball coaching niche on Amazon. So we aren't just an agency. We actually do our stuff, take our own medicine. We use it for our own business. It's not something that we're just trained to say and do. We're tried and true in the trenches. We belong to a group of SEO people that continually do studies. So when I mentioned hundreds, if not thousands of websites that we test this stuff on, that's not just us testing on our own stuff, but also all the other ones that have agencies that have their own business, their own online businesses. So we're pretty solid in what we do, and it's all backed by the research and the study. And we wouldn't do it if it wasn't working or wouldn't have some sort of bump for Google SEO.
Absolutely. Well, that's great. So, and where's the website that people can go to check you out?
So they can go to leadgenerationseoservices.com. We have a free website audit. SEO audit, which there are some out there, but you can go there and you can just submit your site, gets emailed to you. You don't have to ask us. And then, you have to wait on a person to get you the report. It gets emailed straight to you. You can go through that report. If you're savvy somewhat, like you said, Penny, you're a little dangerous, you know enough to be dangerous, then you can go through and you can start trying to fix some of that stuff. Again, another pro tip, you can find somebody, if you got a developer ready, have them go through and fix some of that stuff. If you're interested in getting on a call with us, a free call, half hour to an hour, we can jump on and we can help you fix some of that low hanging fruit, at least direct you in that direction and do some of that stuff for you. And then we can also give you a better landscape of what it would be like to work with us. And then if they want to pull the trigger on that, then we offer that first month, depending on the plan. We have 2 plans, $200 off or $300 off that first month to get moving. But it's going to take, for those that want to take that jump, it's going to take at least about 4 months to get the ranking stuff going. And again, it all depends on how long the domain's been around, depends on how much content they already have, depends on, are they starting from ground zero with the SEO thing? Depends on some things. Right. Most businesses out there, they might already have a good head start, which is good. And things might pop a little bit sooner than later, but 4 months seems to be about the average, about where we start to see some jumps in their rankings.
All right, fantastic. Before we go, just to ask you a question that I ask every guest that's on, because I love the variety of answers. How would you define productivity and why?
I love that one. That is one that is always on my mind every day. So I love Tim Ferriss's 4-Hour Workweek, his effectiveness versus efficiency. So again, getting back to your focusology, you don't want to be efficient at stuff because shoot, I can be efficient at answering emails all day, but it doesn't mean that that's going to be very effective for my time. So taking the 1 or 2 things, big things in that day, that domino that I mentioned a little bit earlier, what's that one thing that I can do that's going to knock down the other dominoes? So if I can continue to focus, okay, how can I be most effective today? What am I going to focus on? And then once you doing the right things, so that's what effectiveness is doing the right things, then you can get efficient at doing them. And that could be you doing them, or that could be delegating somebody else to do them. And then what happens is when you create the processes and you systematize it, then you become efficient at those effective things, at the right things, right? So you're doing the right things and then you're doing those things right. So effectiveness and efficiency, that's productivity to me. So you're making the right decisions to work on the right things. And then you're deciding whether if you're going to do them or you're going to have somebody else do them, that you create the processes and systems that makes them efficient at doing it.
Awesome. I love it. I'm all about the 2 of those together. And if you were to take away, you just got a new computer or a new phone, what are the first apps that you would add on there outside of calendar and email and those things? Like, what's your favorite apps that really make you productive?
Favorite apps, I would say, when it comes especially to the SEO, I would have to say Yoast is a pretty good one. It's a pretty good one. It keeps you on track for the SEO of your on page, right? That's one pillar of SEO, is the on page. And that's always a good one. I feel like with Yoast, it's a no brainer. It's not one that is too overcomplicated. They do a good job of putting all that kind of thing out. So I'd say Yoast being number 1 app. And the other app, that's a good question.
Or for you personally, right? It doesn't have to be SEO related. It can just be the things that get you, productive throughout the day with the different things that you're doing and the tasks that you're managing. And
how about a function? Maybe not an app per se, but, okay. And I don't know why I learned this just probably about 6 months ago, but the playback video speed controls on videos. I can't believe I didn't pick this up sooner or didn't put 2 and 2 together sooner, but speed reading, right? People try and learn how to speed read and stuff. Well, we can speed video and it's all built into the video. So if you go on YouTube or Vimeo or any video, but unless you're watching it on like a Facebook video or something like that, where it's embedded in its actual, they don't have the controls in there, but take the video setting and set it to 2 times video speed. And you can take an hour video and watch it in half the time. You can watch it in a half hour. You can watch a 30-minute video in 15-minute bit. And 15 minutes.
They can watch it really fast. They're going to hear it go by and they're actually going to be able to process it when it goes that fast.
Yeah. Well, it depends on the talker. Like if it's me, and Penny, maybe you, like I might have to watch you in 1.5 times speed, right? I know I'd have to watch myself in probably 1.5 times speed because sometimes I talk a little too fast. But for most people, especially the ones that are really talking, when they talk like this, you do 2 times speed. And it's almost like normal to us because we're fast talkers, but you get all that information in half the time. So I would completely recommend, especially for those that are going through online courses right now and certain things. You can take an 8-hour course and you can be done with it in 4 hours. I mean, you can do 2 hours a day listen to it in an hour and you'll be done in that week for that whole course. So that's probably one of my favorites.
Great. Awesome shortcut. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Joey, thank you so much for being here and sharing your wisdom around SEO. It was a pleasure to have you.
Yeah. Thanks, Penny, for letting me on and let me talk a little bit about it.
And thank you all for being here and listening. I know this is a little bit technical for you guys. And if it was way over your head, the point that you should be taking away from this, hopefully the shortcuts you got, because you can 2 times what you're reading and watching. And we talked about some tools that can support you. Another thing that was mentioned in the podcast today was about systems. And so the important thing is that you make the decision that SEO is important to your website and that you're going to create some focus around it by finding the support that you need so that you can work on your website so that it can be a lead generator for you. So why not multi-purpose it? If you're going to have a website, why not have one that's going to generate more leads for you? And why not go directly to the source, to the people who are buying now? That's a great strategy. You can build brand and you can get people at the top of the funnel, but also go for the low-hanging fruit and the people who are looking for you and your business today. So those were some great tips that came out of today's discussion. So thank you again for being here. My name is Penny Zenker, and this is Take Back Time. We'll see you in the next episode. Hey, thank you for spending this time with me. It really means a lot. If you're feeling a little off, distracted, overwhelmed, stuck, or just out of sync, remember that's your signal to reset. And that's all it takes, just recognizing one reset moment at a time. So stay tuned for more tips, tools, tricks, stories, strategies, all here on Time to Reset. We'll see you in the next episode.